Let me bring in my guest here in studio, Steve Ogola. He's a lawyer. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, we'll be discussing quite a number of issues, but I want us to discuss this one first, and the fact that, Kenyans will have to cough out about 278 million shillings in mileage claim. First of all, I mean, Sarah Serem, she really tried to ensure that the wage bill sort of like goes down a bit. So what are your sentiments about this?
There are two issues, Betty. There's the legal question and there's the moral question. On the legal question, I want to begin by faulting Sarah Serem.
Right.
Because you see, the case that is before court, the orders that were given by Justice Adunga, basically says that Sarah Serem did not follow the process in the lead-up to the harmonization or revision of the salary. That was completely unnecessary. And I think that is the aspect that is not being captured for now.
Right.
What the law says is that while she's entitled to harmonize the salaries, to reflect our lived realities, but the process must be participatory, must be inclusive. The people that the intended beneficiaries, the people that are going to be affected, must be involved. And even the public participation must be captured. I think state officers, and I think now Sarah Serem's office, may have neglected that component of public participation, inquiring or getting further input to those MPs who are there. Now, if you say that to the judge, in the absence of an explanation that tells the judge that, listen, this process was exhaustive as it could get, and these harmonized salaries is the result of a participatory process, then the judge would not have issued conservatory orders. Conservatory orders simply means that since there is prima facie evidence, there's evidence on the face of it that the lead-up, the process, the lead-up of that harmonization, it was not participatory, then let us hold it as if it never happened. So let's revert to the previous position. Now, it's the reversal of the previous position that is now creating the hullabaloo.
The hullabaloo about
because
it.
now people are like, no, this is a staggering amount, we can't. But so, if you look at it in an objective, dispassionate manner, then first of all, on the legal step, you will fault Sarah Serem. But then, now on the substance, I don't think that MPs will succeed with sustaining these high salaries. Because what the court is likely to say, the process was not followed, go back, start the process afresh.
All right.
In a consultative process, the political question, the morality question will emerge. Honestly, with a shrinking economy, and many Kenyans are still going hungry, it is not proper that our leaders, that they live in opulence, extravagance, and that they should award themselves salaries and allowances that make people feel demoralized that Parliament or any other state office is just a place for aggrandizement, accumulation of wealth. I think that is the issue that we may have to deal with when the court finally determines the case.
I want us to go back to what you mentioned about the process that made that was faulty. So are we saying it's only public participation that was not in that process? And even when you talk about public participation, isn't it obvious that the public really, no matter who you bring there, would want the salaries to come down because, like you said, the economy is shrinking?
But you must document it.
So it must happen.
What the law requires, that the law minimizes discretion. You can't just move based on your own passion and discretion. What you think as a commissioner at SRC, that I think I need to harmonize salaries and I need to bring them down, and then you just move so moto in your own motion and then you set salaries. No. You could reach the same outcome, because that's what you're paid to do as a commissioner. But alert the people. Let Sarah now, her team, those who are in office, or those who will be in office, demonstrate the court that there was participation every step of the way, so that that aspect is dealt with. I don't think MPs will succeed, even if this matter was subjected to public participation. Participation at two levels. One is that capturing the views of those who are going to be affected. And that's why Serem was trying to do this thing before these MPs are sworn in. So that when they're sworn in, they know that you're coming in and this is the salary. Because there'll be the other argument that once you're elected, your salary shouldn't be harmonized in a manner that affects what you are entitled to earn. Now, MPs will not succeed in convincing the public that they need higher salaries when the economy is shrinking and people are suffering. But there is an aspect of this case that the court will not solve, and it's better that Kenyans are aware about it. If a public participation process still leads us to the old salaries, there is no way a court of law will, through a determination, slash those allowances. The court can't determine the salaries. The court can only say the process to the lead up to those figures was not participatory and therefore was not legal, and then go and start afresh. I think the political question is this.
But is it really likely, Steve, that you should go back to the public and we would revert them to factory settings?
Well, this is part of the discussion that is going on now, and this is where political leadership is needed. I think the approach that we need in this country is a movement towards an austere and ascetical living. Very simple, basic living, especially among our leadership. You know, you don't need to be paid to go back to your home. You're an elected representative. You have salaries. You don't need additional salary, allowances, every time you go home. I mean, all of us travel home all the time, and we meet people. And when you're a leader, it's about service. I think if that debate emerges, truly, people will say that let us have those leaders that can work within their salaries. And that's why there are so many parallel movements. We are trying to say, in fact, the law, if you look at it holistically, removes the MP's role from donating money to bursaries to needy students. That now is the work of national government, the executive, and the county executive. But we want MPs to remain with the function of legislation alone. You know, representation through legislation and oversight. But development should be mainstreamed in the counties. The county government is already on the ground. You get?
And the interesting thing is I've hosted MPs, even last year when Sarah Serem came out with this new structure. I interviewed quite a number of members of parliament, and they were saying that as much as, from the framework, from the policy, we should not give money when it comes to bursaries and harambes. But when you go back home, these are needs. You meet people, in the constituency who have serious needs, and you cannot, as an MP, as a person representing them, shy away from that. So that's why they were saying that we still need, these monies. Is that a concrete or a solid argument?
I think maybe one of the conversations that we need to have, which we can do through this forum, which I think, because I consider this kind of discussion as part of civic education, I'd like to urge Kenyans to also relieve MPs of the burden of expenditures. It is not the MP's role to pull out money from his salary to pay your school fee. If he does that as a concerned Kenyan, the way I can do. Indeed, many of us are not in state offices, but we are supporting children, needy children, we are supporting orphans, we are supporting widows, and we do that because we are part of a community that belong together. You get? And if MPs do so, let them do so in their own personal capacity.
Their own volition.
In any case, you see, when they're running for office, they're the people that entrench that behavior. They give out money, they give out food, they sponsor, and that is, they want to be elected based on their own demonstrable or established capacity to support the needy. So then it's natural that Kenyans will continue that expectation, but now when they're elected, they should now draw. You see, by the time you vie for elective office, because campaign is quite expensive in Kenya, you probably have other sources of income. Don't use public office to consolidate or broaden your sources of income. Use public office to serve the people in your role. The role of an MP is to legislate. That's the core role. And to oversight the government, the executive, as by law established. And to a certain extent, capture the perspectives and transmit them to the relevant implementing authorities. As an MP, you have a right to know how your county government is working for your constituency. Capture their views and deliver them to the county government. We must reach a level, ultimately, be it now in this term or the next term or 20 years to come, where Kenyans can know that once you elect an MP, he will not support you beyond what your neighbor can do. Once you have that shared and settled understanding, there will be no justification. But already now, MPs have that duty to mainstream that conversation. I don't think that there's a legal justification for higher salaries. It's unacceptable, it's immoral, and it does not match our lived realities. But as of now, insofar as this case is concerned, I have another angle that should concern all Kenyans, even MPs. This is not the only case concerning salaries of MPs, Betty. Sometimes, I think last year in July, there's an advocate called Vambola. He went to court and was acting for him. When MPs proposed to increase their salaries, sometimes they propose without reference the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. you know, sometimes they do so in consultation with SRC, that could you please harmonize our salaries, revise them upwards. There's a time in the last year that MPs decided for themselves that they want higher perks. An advocate went to court to challenge that. An order was given stopping the PSC from paying those higher allowances. The PSC ignored that order. So that case is pending. So we have a case already. Even before Sarah Serem's matter revision, there is actually a case in court that stopped increment of salaries and allowances for. But they ignored that. Betty, what I can tell you is this, and I want Kenyans to be aware. In this country, our political elite, they have an established capacity to manipulate the law to their benefit. And I can relate what is happening now, insofar as the MP salary is concerned, with the Oster of Alfred Keter and the other people.
And we'll get to that.
When they think the law doesn't work for them, they just abandon the law, and it's for you and I to deal with the consequences. When they think the law can work for them, then they can manipulate it to increase or expand opportunities to get what they want. That is also the problem that we have, and that is a problem of leadership. I believe in this issue, Uhuru and Raila can actually now find something to agree on, because these MPs come from the... If they condemn, because now they represent the public voice. Uhuru represents the public voice insofar as he has a huge constituency from Jubilee. Raila represents the public voice insofar as he has a near fanatical following from NASA supporters. If they say that we don't support any movement towards increasing allowances or salaries, then that is the discussion that will pick up, and it will become difficult for MPs to continue with that justification.
All right. All right. Interesting convo. We'll continue with it in a few minutes. We'll take a short commercial break. We're coming back. We'll also be focusing on that case that the Attorney General, Professor Githu Muigai, has filed in court, and we'll be having that discussion with Steve Ogola. Don't go away.